All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So we have the NFL owners meetings currently taking place with coaches and general managers, obviously owners, right? Media members. Everybody's in one centralized location down in Palm Beach, Florida, and coaches are taking time. They're doing interviews, they're doing sit down interviews and whatnot. And we had a couple of coaches actually chime in on the New York Jets coaching staff, Aaron Glenn and offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand. So the first quote that I want to go over here is on Dan Campbell talking about Aaron Glenn. He said, as long as he's got support, AG will turn that thing around. He's an unbelievable leader. He's the type of person that makes people want to rally around him. And at first glance, it's like, okay, you know what? It's coach speak. These two guys are tight. It's just kind of that endorsement, if you will. But I think if you actually look at it, right, especially that first line, as long as he's got the support, that to me is telling. And not to try to look too much into it, but I think, Dan Campbell knew what he was doing when he said that, right? Because Dan Campbell is the head coach of the Detroit Lions, a team that just simply has not won, hasn't really had that much success, not many playoff wins, not many divisional crowns up until Dan Campbell arrived there. They were labeled as a dysfunctional team. So Dan Campbell knows what it's like to turn things around, but they're also unfortunately labeled as that quote unquote dysfunctional team. And Dan Campbell, I think, knows that. So, of course, Aaron Glenn is his boy. He's going to back him up. Yeah, he's a great leader, which is, exactly what the Jets need. He's going to get guys to rally behind him, but he needs support. We can't be in one of these situations where it's Aaron Glenn battling against the organization, or he wants to do something and the organization won't let that happen. Like, everyone has got to be on board, because it's not just Dan Campbell that turned around the Detroit Lions. It is everybody involved, all hands on deck. Brad Holmes, general manager, of course, Chris Spielman, kind of the shadow general manager, if you will. Credit ownership, right, with Sheila Ford, because she's been making decisions for a long time, but it really feels like she gave just a ton of power to Brad Holmes and Spielman and Dan Campbell here. And of course, credit the players and the assistant coaches and whatnot throughout, the years. But Dan Campbell knows what it's like to turn around a team that is labeled dysfunctional, but he's saying Glenn better get that support. Now, in regards to Ben Johnson and what he had to say about Jets OC Tanner Engstrand, Johnson said, Ingstrand is someone I leaned on heavily in Detroit, and that they had many late nights together hashing out game plans and watching film. I think Aaron Glenn got a really good one. Now you're reading this, and the first question that comes to mind is, Chicago obviously brought over a lot of coaches from Detroit, Antoine Randall, like the list goes on, right? Chicago did, pry from Detroit, but Tanner Engstrand was not one of those candidates. And you're looking at the Jet situation, and the rumor was, behind the scenes, Josiah Anderson, a lot of the Jets beat reporters, Nick Caley was that top guy, former tight ends coach with the New England Patriots, obviously working with the LA Rams as of late, and ultimately got the Houston Texans job. And it kind of felt like the Jets quickly pivoted to Tanner Engstrand with, someone with not a lot of NFL play calling experience. Yes, of course, he's called plays. Aaron Glenn talked about that in his presser. And even though Ingstrand has called plays before, the NFL is just a different beast. So I'm excited to see what Ingstrand can do. Obviously, there is a lot of inexperience, a lot of newness. I never know if that's a word or not, but I keep on saying it. With Aaron Glenn, first-time head coach. Tanner Engstrand, first-time OC. Brand new quarterback, Justin Fields. Brand new general manager, Darren Muji, right? There's Rick Spielman's now added to the group, which I think is going to be a big-time benefit for this team moving forward. Just, in the draft process and in free agency negotiations, maybe just someone who's navigated that path before, someone who's not going to be surprised, like, oh my God, this player wants how much? Or, a contract offer has got bounced back, this player wants more, or maybe a draft surprise in the first round, someone who's on the board that we didn't think was going to be there at spot number 7, or a number 1 target is now off the board. Like, just situations like that. We have a guy in the room in Tanner Engstrand that can look at the situation and say, I've been in this spot, and this is how we're going to handle it. But again, I'm excited for the youth movement. I'm excited to see what takes place, what transpires throughout the course of the rest of the offseason. And, there's obviously going to be speed bumps along the way whenever you have this many fresh faces, this many rookies, if you will, at big time positions within an organization. Yeah, there's going to be mistakes, but this is the path that the Jets chose, and they got to stick to it. I mean, who knows how the season's going to be playing out, but I just don't want to see the Jets in a situation where when Saleh first took over, there was like, so much pressure on Zach, so much pressure on Mike LaFleur, so much pressure. It felt like there was pressure coming down from ownership to maybe have all the answers figured out. But in any case, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.